Welcome back to another episode of Terp Trends. Today I'm sitting down with Eddie Osefo, founder and CEO of Happy Eddie. Happy Eddie is a black-owned cannabis brand based in Maryland, founded by attorney and entrepreneur Eddie Osefo. Known for Bravo TV's Real Housewives of Potomac, the brand's name was inspired by a viral moment from the TV show where Eddie was playfully dubbed Happy Eddie. The brand's mission is simple: let's educate, motivate, and normalize adult cannabis consumption, aiming to destigmatize and inform the public about cannabis's positive impacts. Happy Eddie offers a broad of sweet products such as flower, pre-rolls, infused pre-rolls, and edibles in the Maryland and Missouri markets, with plans to expand to additional markets in 2025. Beyond its product offerings, Happy Eddie is dedicated to social equity within the cannabis industry and works with organizations such as Last Prisoner Project and Black CannaBusiness. The brand's social impact initiatives focus on eliminating systemic barriers and providing minority entrepreneurs with opportunities for meaningful participation, growth, and leadership in the legal cannabis market. Happy Eddie embodies the ethos of everyday professionals who color outside the lines, encouraging a balance between working hard and playing harder and promoting inclusivity and community engagement. This is Terp Trends. Let's dive in.
Eddie Osefo, CEO, founder of Happy Eddie. I'm an attorney by background. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I'm also a family man. I'm also a father, and so I have my hat, and I wear a lot of different hats,
Man.
But at the end of the day, I'm Happy Eddie, and so I kind of I represent my brand wherever I go, and just how I got into this space, it's really interesting. Well, let me take it back to small Eddie, to the younger Eddie.
Okay.
So I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. My parents are immigrants, Nigerian immigrants. I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Went to school, so I always knew about cannabis, but back in the day, my parents taught me, it's this scary thing, it's this nefarious thing, bad people do cannabis. Weed is what they call it. Stay away from the people who smoke weed. And so that was embedded in my head about what cannabis is, what it represents, and the people who are associated with cannabis. But as I grew up, as I had friends who, sold cannabis on, the illegal side, and friends who use cannabis, I'm like, these aren't bad people, these are my friends. And so, I'm matriculated, I went away to school, went away to college. And then it wasn't until I got to college where I actually had my first experience with cannabis. So, my freshman year, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm like, man, where's the party at? So I went to my friend's dorm room, and his roommates had baked some brownies.
Nice.
And so the roommates just say, hey, just take one or take half, don't take a lot of them. And so I didn't know what effects it had at the time. So I took one, 10, 20 minutes later, I didn't feel anything. I'm like, man, these brownies are weak, man. What are you guys cooking up? Like, what are you doing? Took like two more.
Yep.
And then we pre-gamed a little bit. Then we went to the party probably about 10 minutes later. And about an hour in, man, like I was having my own party. Like I was bouncing around the room. I knew everybody in the party. I'm gonna assume my friend told me everybody in the party knew who I was. I dapped up everyone there. I had a good old time, and that was actually my first foray, actually consuming cannabis and joining the cannabis ranks. And so it was an interesting experience, but it wasn't. I woke up the next day, I was fine. It wasn't this bad thing that I thought it would be growing up, in my household. And so fast forward, weed became legalized in Maryland, and I'm like, man, I want to get in that industry. I want to somehow get involved with. To me, this is like when alcohol became legalized, and people were just getting involved in this booming industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and so I'm like, how do I do that? Did my research, and it's not one of those industries you just say, hey man, I'm about to get into the cannabis industry. It's not like that. Highly regulated.
I think that's something that a lot of people do, where they see the ambition and maybe some numbers from someone else, and they're like, I want to get in this. And then they get into it, and I don't think they realize, like, this space is unlike any other industry that people have worked for before. And I'm sure you're experiencing that, getting really into it on this legal scene,
Yeah, it's crazy because, I thought, okay, you just need a license. It's highly regulated. You just need a license. I'll apply for a license. It's not that simple either, just applying for a license, and if you're qualified, you get a license. We have social equity here in Maryland, and it's one of those things where if you got a license the first round when they were medical, then of course you have a license. But this social equity round that I actually witnessed while we were legal, it's like none other. Like random people were getting licenses. Some unrandom people, were getting licenses, and it's one of those things where I found that that's a major roadblock. That's just to get started. And so I was like, okay, how do I find a partner in this industry? And just
Yeah.
taking another step back, so as an aside, I'm the husband of one of the Real Housewives of Potomac. Wendy Osefo is my wife.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
we've been on this reality show for probably 5, 6 years now. And so that's kind of where the origin story for Happy Eddie, the brand name, came from. It was one
Yeah.
of those incidents where I went to one of her all cast events, and one of the women, I'm saying hi to everyone. And one of the women said, I was smiling a little too hard at her. And so she started calling me Happy Eddie. Like Happy Eddie was flirting with me or trying to get with me by smiling. And
Yeah.
so it kind of
Yeah.
took off and grew a life of its own.
Yeah.
Went viral, and everybody's calling me Happy Eddie no matter where I go. And I'm like, you know what? Instead of trying to build brand affinity, why don't I just leverage this name and enter the cannabis industry with it? And that's kind of where Happy Eddie got its origin. And then I took that into, found a partner in Maryland. Curio Wellness is actually my cultivation partner here in Maryland.
Nice.
They distribute my products to the dispensaries here, and they were already licensed, so they've already done all the legwork for me. So now it's just a matter of finding personalities that match, and
Yes.
growing this brand and them having quality products for me to give to my consumers. I think that was a match made in heaven, and haven't looked back since. Just trying to keep pushing forward.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I mean, I have to compliment you. Do have a good smile, brother. And
I appreciate that.
so you
Well, no
did
wonder they
you
call me
did
Happy
nail
Eddie.
that. Yeah, you nailed that. And one thing I really want to highlight when I went through your page and like your product page, right? So the first thing I see is the Happy Eddie story, right?
Mhm.
So it's Happy Eddie is a cannabis brand that honors the spirit of the plant. I love that by bringing people together and making them happy. The guiding principle behind the brand is everyday professionals who color outside the lines. And I
There you go.
think that's a pure demonstration of what you're doing because your whole entrepreneur background, you've been blending in all these different scenes, right? So you're in it on a high professional level, which still kind of probably carries a certain taboo or stigma with cannabis. I think it's kind of fizzing out, but I'm sure you're still dealing with generations that have a different view. So what's that like navigating that and then introducing your new entrepreneur avenue that you're going into? Is there any backlash or is it kind of weird at all?
Oh yeah, it still is very much so weird. I think it's like you mentioned, it's fizzling out, but people still have preconceived notions embedded in their minds. That's why that slogan, everyday professionals who color outside the lines, is trying to give
I love it.
them a yeah, I appreciate it. Give them a face for someone who's coloring outside the lines. Like you may have had this impression based on your upbringing of how the cannabis community is, but it's changing. It's evolving. It's not that. It's something where now it's legal. That's first of all. And so it's a legal enterprise. It's a business like any other, like landscape and like, like groceries. It's the same thing that any other person does in the field, and you need to give it that same level of discernment and that same level of respect in the sense that everyone is not this lazy person. Like the cannabis community, is very inclusive, very creative, and it's one of those high performing type of areas where you may not see someone who looks like you, but they have a mind and they're intelligent. The way they think is on the same wavelength as you. And so just trying to remove those stigmas and trying to normalize cannabis culture, the behavior, people who use cannabis, and it's not just bad people. Like we try to adhere or we try to appeal to, soccer moms, soccer dads,
Yep.
working professionals. We're trying to be very inclusive of everybody who may not have felt welcome in the cannabis community because they were fearful of it. They didn't have proper education, so they didn't know like, oh wait, I could take this for anxiety as opposed to, the traditional medication. Like they want to open their minds to educating themselves about the product. And I think using my platform and privilege, I'm able to give them that segue where say, well, if Eddie's doing it and he's someone who we don't see as this bad guy, let's look into it. Let's educate ourselves on what cannabis is really about, and maybe it could help us. Maybe it could help my
Yeah.
grandma. Maybe it could help my aunt, and I could bring that to them and say, "Hey, what Happy Eddie from Real Housewives of Potomac is using it. You should try it out." And so
Yeah.
it's like a gateway.
Yeah. And what full product lines do you have under Happy Eddie? Because I know you have the edibles, but what else are you guys offering?
Yeah, so we have flour, and then we actually introduced recently. We have 8, 7 grams, 14 grams. So we have If you're just a kind of curious person, you just want to come in and just buy an eighth and try it out, we have that. But if you buy in volume, buy in bulk, you can buy, 14 grams. We also have pre-rolls. And we just recently did a collaboration with Caviar, which has infused pre-rolls. And so we did a collaboration with them to offer infused pre-rolls to folks who are looking for that avenue, but also, want to have that brand affinity. So we had a collaboration with Caviar. And we
Nice,
actually,
man.
because we're a black-owned brand, and it's an industry where, based on the war on drugs, it kind of impacted nefariously black and brown communities. We try to make it our mission to also partner with black and brown people who are trying to enter the
Yeah.
community. And it's not just as a licensor or a cultivator. You may just have like a marketing agency. You may have, you're doing social media. And so we try to partner with different companies that are doing work like that. But we recently did a collab with this company, Drink Handling. It's like a tincture syrup out in California, black-owned
Nice.
company. They've been around for like 13 years, and we've partnered with them to bring a syrup to the California market. And so
Nice,
things
man.
like that is what we look to do, just to while we're broadening the scope of people here in Maryland, because it is you're siloed in with whatever state you're licensed in, but we are trying to broaden our horizons and reach other demographics so that we can bring them into this inclusive cannabis community.
Yeah, man. Well, I think the biggest highlight that I say about the cannabis community is the best description of love is unity. And
Mm.
there's nothing that brings this community together like cannabis, you know. Like it's
Exactly.
kind of wild, especially at the event that I saw this weekend. It's just you don't really see this eclectic group of individuals blended so well together, getting along that I
Yeah.
see in any other field,
Perfect
from
strangers.
ground level to CEOs. And we
Hmm.
all just kick it and we're all just sharing joints on a rooftop, listening to music.
There you
And
go.
so I try to tell people like the best definition of love is unity. And
Yep.
that's what this plant does. So where in your life kind of made you pivot towards this like entrepreneurship? Because you have to have a certain drive in you to have that type of character, Eddie. Not everybody's doing what you're doing.
Right.
So what do you think? Where do you think that kind of pivot went into to go into grind mode behind you?
Yep. Like so I mentioned, I'm the child of immigrants. And so they've always instilled in us that, you have to go to school, get a job, and then life will take care of itself. You'll be successful. And I found once I entered the work field, like I mentioned, I'm an attorney by background. So once I enter the work field, it's not all peaches and cream, It's like you're working for someone else. You have someone else's rules that you adhere to. You're not calling any of the shots. And it's one of those things where I felt like I could do more. I felt like I had this drive to want to do more. It's just a matter of where do you put that energy. And so I found that early on that I wanted to follow this entrepreneurial path. I just have this career that I have. And so now I'm actually leveraging the attributes and things and tangible things I learned, the corporate world and applying that in the business world. And so that's kind of like where I get the drive to say, okay, let's do this startup business and let's grow it from the ground up. You have to get people to buy into your vision. You have to get supporters who can provide that capital, those resources, or can provide whatever resources they can add to the mix and actually take it, apply your vision, and have a fruitful product that people are willing to buy and support. And I found that, through this journey, it's not an easy journey, but through this journey, I found that people being able to relate to my background, my upbringing, who I am, what I'm about, has been able to help the business flourish, has been able to help people be more open-minded to, okay, let's try out this brand. Um, and it's actually opened my eyes to learning more about what consumers are looking for, what the community needs, what things move the needle. It's not always just, a price tag. It's not always just, the best
Yep.
weed in town. Like sometimes they want to hear about your story. They want to hear like, oh, man, you come from where I came from. I want to
Hmm.
support you in your journey. And I hear those, I do pop-ups. I do a lot of pop-ups and I hear those
Nice,
stories where
man.
people, they're like, you know what? I can't believe you're here in the dispensary, just talking to me. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm meeting you where you are. Like, I want to hear, why are you here?
Yeah.
What do you look for in a cannabis brand? And it's like, when you hear those stories, you're like, not everybody's just trying to lay on their couch and smoke weed.
Yeah.
Some people have ailments. Some people have a grandma. They just want to, help their grandma because she's always on medication. It's one of those things where I've learned a lot more than I've actually put in to the industry. And that's one of those things where it's invaluable,
Yeah.
the people out there and the stories that they're telling. And I appreciate that within the
Yeah.
cannabis community.
Oh, I think it's so sick when you get to meet the individuals in the space. Like
Yeah.
I probably did bud tending for like 8 years before I started anything else, and being on the front line of just hearing everybody's story. I mean, for some individuals, you're that 10 minutes of comfort.
Yeah.
Like they can come into you, it's kind of like a hairdresser's your therapist. They
Hmm.
come into you, they spit to you about their day, good or bad. You give them the product they need for their relief, and that relationship is just so organic. And they rely on you to kind of have that interaction. And you don't want to bring them down because they're coming to you. So that's so cool that you understand that relationship and you're in the public yourself. Because there's something I said to you when we first kind of before the recording with these brands, there's so many brands in cannabis.
Hmm.
So if you're trying to play the long game and leave your legacy, it's not just the people buying your brand, it's the people buying you. Like in sales,
Exactly.
you're not selling your brand, you're selling yourself.
Right.
So that's awesome that you're out there with the happy Eddie smile that you have in the community because I'm
Right.
sure they appreciate that. You're a
Hmm.
safe light for them because they trust you and now you're
Right.
guiding them on their journey of cannabis.
Right.
And that has to feel great, you know?
No, it does. I couldn't have said it better. I think they're always surprised when I'm at these pop-ups, like just saying hi, just even if they buy someone else's product,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, oh man, check us out next time. But what did you buy? Why? Okay. So are you from the area? Just having regular conversations, and it's just building that trust with the brand, and just building that trust that I'm not just selling bullshit, and I'm not just out here just trying to act like I'm there and I'm not really there. And so
Yeah.
I think that resonates with people. I think that's why we've been able to really take off in Maryland, and why we want to expand into different states and do different things, because we don't want to just be siloed to Maryland, because everyone can get a little love. Everyone can get a little happy Eddie happiness in their
Oh yeah.
day. It's just a matter of feeling that love back from the brands that you're buying, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, man. And so you kind of having that attorney background and jumping into the business side, I'm sure there was plenty challenges that go along the way, right? But one of it, since you're a brand and you're trying to, if I get this correct, like you paired up with a licensee already. What was
Correct.
that like trying to find that avenue of one, where do I want to go? But two, what brand really aligns with my vision for what I have?
Right. Yeah, so once I decided, okay, this is what I want to do, is a matter of finding the right partner. And so, I met with a lot of people, and I'm not, it's one of those things where even that in and of itself, meeting with different partners, requires a sense of privilege. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Being on this platform, being on the Housewives of Potomac, I'm able to have these meetings that others may not have the opportunity to have. That's why it's so important to, open the doors for other, black and brown and people who are actually impacted by the war on drugs, open the door for them to try to get those meetings or have those conversations. But when I'm having these meetings with the different, cultivators and licensees or licensors, it's like just understanding what they stand for, who they're about. And it's been, it was a journey to talk to different people. And I ultimately settled on Curio. It was just one of those things where it was a family-owned business, but it's just a family-owned business. I wanted to be a part of a family, be a part of someone who's looking out for your well-being. And I found a lot of synergies when I met with them and interviewed with them. Like, we grew up in the same area in Baltimore. We didn't know each other, but one of the uh, people in the C-suite at Curio actually went to school with my brother. And I didn't know that, but I mean, my name is not a very common name. So they're like, wait, is that your brother? And I'm like, yeah, that's my younger brother. And so it was just finding those synergies and those, avenues to connect, where it's like, okay, I think this is the home that I want to rest Happy Eddie with. And, it's just a matter of finding that partner that sees your vision, and they also provide quality products. So once I found that pairing, it was the rest is history. And I kind of decided to go, with Curio versus, other licensors, just because I found that affinity to their brand and what they're about.
Yeah, I think you have to have alignment, and that's why so many brands don't survive because I feel like the alignment's just not there. Where you may get into this partnership for other reasons, and then it ends up not working out in the long run. You have to have that connection established at the forefront of it because you're both now carrying each other's brand. And for you to succeed, they need to succeed. For them to
Yeah.
succeed, you need to succeed. So you have to find that synchronicity with each other. And I know it's a struggle in this space. You know what I mean? So what's it like being on the screen of thousands and thousands of households and then carrying a cannabis brand? Has that been a weird navigating role?
You know what? I'd say in the beginning, yes. In the
Yeah.
beginning, even just having a camera in your household following you, you're like, and you're supposed to act as if the
Yeah.
camera's not there, is a
Yeah.
weird experience. It's like the literal fly on the wall but you see this big ass fly on the wall. It's one of those things where it's weird. But after a while, I kind of changed my mindset, and it's one of those things where they're not there anymore. It's like I gotta assume that everyone is watching me, and when I go out in the public, everyone knows already who I am. And so once I normalized it to the cameras aren't here and the people they just know who I am, I kind of felt more comfortable walking around in the grocery store, walking around, my kid's basketball game. Like everyone just knows. I'm gonna assume you know who I am. If you don't, I'm still gonna introduce myself as if you don't know who I am, and
Yeah.
then we'll just carry it like that. But I think one of the things that has put me on notice is just knowing that everybody's watching. Everyone's watching you and watching what you do, and they're seeing the path that you're setting. And one of the most greatest joys I get is when I meet somebody who's a stranger to me, but they say, I started watching. It'll be like a husband. I started watching because
Yeah.
my wife was watching the show, and I'm just watching it with her, and I just love how you carry yourself. You're just a cool, down to earth dude, and even me talking to you in public, you're acting as if we know each other. And when I get those compliments, like I'm just this cool, normal person, not this star that you see on TV or this person who you think is a star. It means the world to me because I don't want to lose the fact that I'm just like any other person. I'm just a
Yeah.
man walking around. I had opportunity, ran with it, and here I am. So I like to know that I'm leaving an impact and that the brand is actually resonating with people. But then also my character speaks beyond the brand, and people can see like, oh, no, you're a laid back dude. Like you did your thing. You have your kids. You're raising your kids. You're involved with their growth and development. Like I'm an avid. I want to play. I live. This is just a side note. So my
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
play sports. Play
Nice.
sports, and I played sports when I was growing up. But I didn't do what I wanted to do. Who I thought I was in my head.
Yeah.
But I want them to be that person. And so I'm living vicariously through them and say, all right, you go play football. I didn't play running back because I was too slow, but you go play running back. And, it's not working out like that, but, that was my hope and dream. But, like, when they see me doing that kind of stuff, it kind of like, that's what I do with my kid. It's one of those things where they could just see themselves in me. And I appreciate that, when I get
Yeah.
those compliments when I go out.
Oh man, that's awesome. And you being the family man that you're saying you are, what's it like navigating this relationship with cannabis when it comes to your family? Because I think a lot of Americans in other countries, like this is a nuance to us, bringing this into our family, bringing this into like a daily household conversation, which I think is great that we're progressing that way, but it's still a topic for discussion. And I think a lot of people are navigating. So how do you deal with that with your little ones and the brand that you're carrying?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. So I have an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So
Nice.
I think my 5 and 10-year-old, they have no idea. They just think it's I want a T-shirt, I want some merch. My
Yeah.
11-year-old, he's like, okay, so you're selling weed, huh, Dad? And he's like, like straight up, like he'll just
Yep.
say it straight up, and I'm like, huh? And before I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? But now, when I know he knows, I'm like, because these kids know everything. I,
Yeah.
I have a conversation with him. I'm like, yeah, people, this is like a wellness product. Like, this is not just drugs on the street. This is like people, it's like going to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
People use it to feel better. And so having it actually opened the door to have those conversations that maybe before I wouldn't have had because I'm like, I don't know. I don't want him going to school saying, this, that, and the third, but it's
Yeah.
actually makes him more knowledgeable and it's actually changing his perception so that the future is not going to be impacted like we were growing up. Like they're going to have more education and more knowledge surrounding their idea of cannabis, and that's very helpful in
Yeah,
changing the
no,
future.
I
Yeah,
think it's all going to come down to education, and time. I think with these laws changing, I think it gives us the ability to have the progression that we need. And
yep,
it's all going to come down to kids. But I mean, I can relate it too. I have nieces and nephews, and I know my nieces, they know the smell related to Uncle Adam, like, oh, it smells like Uncle Adam, like, you know, so it's funny when you introduce it, but even me, I still feel weird like consuming in front of kids,
right,
but yet it's normal to have a beer in your hand, right? At
right,
like a party.
right.
So even in my head, because I grew up with that taboo, I have to sit down with myself and be like, but is it weird? Like
Yeah,
if you're hiding it, are you making that progression you want? But
mhm, yeah,
it's a fine line I think we're all walking
yep,
when we're trying to figure out how to educate the younger ones on this
right,
cannabis movement positively.
exactly.
So that's always entertaining when it comes to the kids, you know what I mean? Nice,
Slowly
man.
but
And
surely, it's changing.
did your family have like a good reception to it? Like they were about it? Like you talked to your wife about it, obviously, and you have like a social aspect you got to worry about. Was there any resistance towards the brand, you launching that?
Like immediately my wife was on board. But
Yeah.
I think like I mentioned, Nigerians they think they still think it's very taboo.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things like their mind hasn't shifted to it's a business.
Yeah.
So they think it's an illegal business.
Okay.
And so it's just one of those things where, shifting the mindset. And I think they were resistant, they were hesitant. That's the
Yeah.
best way to describe it. Like, are you sure? Like this is not going to get you in trouble. It's like that constant, are you going to get in trouble? Are you
Yeah.
towing a line of trouble, not trouble? Like, what is really going on here?
Yeah.
So they were just hesitant a little bit in the beginning, but
Nice.
now it's like, okay, I can't believe my, son or son-in-law is selling marijuana. Like, wow.
Yeah. No, it is always interesting, but I think when they see the level of success, it kind of breaks down that fear.
Yeah,
I know it did with my parents growing up. It was just, as a teenager, you're like, what are you doing? And I
yeah,
always loved cannabis. Like that's one thing I really stayed true. I had
right,
dreadlocks, I had all of that. And I know my parents were just like, what is going on? But
right.
once I was able to prove my path and show success, my dad being the businessman that he is, he was like, okay, now I have faith in you. It is
Yep,
something. But we needed the laws to change to do that as well.
right.
You know what I mean? So when you're going into picking your products, man, obviously you want to have a really curated line of that matches with you. So
Yep.
how do you go about your product development when picking these items?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, one of the slogans is, everyday professionals who color outside the line. And so I kind of want any product, any strains to really reflect, someone who's trying to be a high achiever. Someone
Yeah.
who, so I choose, essentially, I lean towards sativas. I'm a sativa
Yeah.
person,
Nice,
sativa
man.
strains, but I know that some people want that chill,
Mm-hmm.
indica type vibe. So I offer that
Yep.
for to have the different variety. But most of the time, I'm a hybrid sativa type of
Yeah.
person because I want to focus on what I'm trying to get done.
I
I don't
gotcha.
have problems sleeping. I don't
Yeah.
have problems, putting my mind to bed. My wife, on the other hand, is the
Yeah.
opposite way. So she'll want to lean towards indica. So I'm kind of like giving something for everyone. So it's mostly looking for products that really give you that euphoric feeling, give you that happy feeling. Because of course, I'm happy. Someone actually said to me the other day, "So you really smile in real life? Like you really are happy?" And I'm like, I can't put these teeth away. It's just it is
Yeah.
what it is. And so when we're going through looking for products, it's like it's really chasing that quality, but that product that's going to give you that euphoric, happy, focused type of feeling when you consume, and also like things that I would consume. It's not just products that I've never used it before, and it's stuff that I would want to go in the dispensary and purchase myself. Is what I
Yeah.
like to carry in terms of the product line.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with that, what are some of your favorites or some things that you use personally?
Yeah, so I mean, like you mentioned, having kids is it's hard to consume throughout the day because
Yeah.
they're there, and yeah, it's not normalized yet. So edibles, like
Yeah.
that's the
Oh
easiest
yeah.
thing. It's like pop and go. They don't. It's stored hot, away that they don't know it's can. They think it's candy, and it's just one of those things I could take throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful when we introduced the edibles. Vapes is something I'm looking into as well because that also could be very useful, on a daily basis and not having to, being able to use because I have the kids around. But then when they're sleeping, pre rolls is the next go to because I'm just a get it and go type of person.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those. I'll take a pre roll over, grinding an eighth and rolling it up myself. Even if I lose a little flour, I'll
Yeah.
take a pre roll any day because I just want to get it and go and do what I came to do. And so it's usually just the edibles, pre rolls, and then if it's chilling with the friends or laid back, then we can get flour and then we'll do it like that. But that's
Yeah.
usually my go-to is the edibles first, the pre rolls second.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the wonderful thing about cannabis is you can curate it to any experience you're looking for. And that's why you have different products. You have the
Yep,
gummies, you have the pre-rolls, you have the flour. Really, any experience people need, it's cool that we can give them a cannabis product at this day and age,
that's a good point.
which I think's awesome. I'm the same. I'm not a big flower guy anymore, but I do enjoy my edibles. I've been trying to take a break from like smoking, inhaling. You know,
Gotcha.
like
Is there
it
a
does a
reason?
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just like it does a lot. Like I'm a predominantly solventless guy. I love
Okay.
hash,
Okay.
so I'm trying to cut down on what I have to inhale. because
Yeah.
your lungs are precious, you
Yeah.
know.
There you go. Take care.
And edibles, they help me with sleeping, and I
Yeah.
love like the tinctures, and you said the syrup line. I think
Yep.
that's awesome. Because
Yeah.
to be able to add that to anything, for people
Right.
that are listening, you can now take this product and mix it into really anything. So if you want to have some spice or some sweet, you can mix this into it along with the tinctures. So good job captivating on
Yep.
that audience, man. You
Just need
know,
to
I
bring it to
mean,
the East Coast. Yeah. That's it.
yeah, yeah. So what's on the future for you, man? What do you guys have any other products that you're looking forward to develop? I know you said carts.
Yep.
What about solventless? Have you ever thought of like hash or anything like that?
You know what? Like I mentioned, I haven't gotten into that myself. So it's one of those things where I want to put in terms of the product line stuff that I would use, products that I would
Yeah,
use. So that may be further along down the line, but I think the steps that I'm taking, the
yeah.
carts, that's what I would use, hash and things of that nature. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not there yet. But we are looking at different product lines and different types of concentrates that we could introduce that, because people, they have a bit of a higher tolerance. So, we want to be able to have something for everybody. But we are looking at different markets as well. Like I mentioned, we're going to be expanding into Missouri
Oh,
next month,
sweet.
actually. So we'll be in
Nice.
Missouri, bringing the full product suite to Missouri.
Wow.
Uh,
So
pretty
what's
awesome.
that like then going to a whole nother state, man? Because I mean, luckily you have that attorney background, so you can break down a lot of this back language that goes into it. But I'm sure there's like in all
Oh yeah.
different hurdles that now you have to face in this state regulatory compared to Maryland regulatory. How's
Oh yeah.
that been?
I thought Maryland was strict and was very, you know, no, I don't want to say blah, was very black letter law, but Missouri is a lot stricter, in terms of even
Yeah.
the packaging. It's so plain. It's so like you can't do too much, otherwise it's appealing to children. Like this background, that could never be on a Missouri packaging. And so just being
Okay.
able to adhere to the rules and regulations of another state, it's a burgeoning market in Missouri, but it has a lot of restrictions. It hasn't grown as much as other more mature markets, which is good from a business standpoint. But in terms of being creative and having creative, wherewithal to do what you think feels good, it's not there yet. And so just navigating that has been, it has some hurdles. Just trying to get things through the, metric and through compliance. But I think once we got through there, I think the product's going to speak for itself. I think people are going to really resonate with the brand as well. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to tackle a new market. I'm excited to make some trips to Missouri. Like I mentioned, I don't want to lose the touch of going in and seeing the dispensaries because I'm sure the people in Missouri, I mean, although, people are people, they're different. That's the
Yeah.
Midwest. That's not
No,
Maryland.
they're cool
And
there, man. They're
yeah,
cool. Yeah, I
okay.
got a lot of homies in like Kansas City.
Okay,
And
perfect.
I almost stayed. I went to like one of their like block parties where they shut the city down and like have
Yeah,
clear out the block. They have like performers and just like barbecue and everything. And it was really cool. It was really
nice,
cool. And the cannabis space there is it's becoming really cool. So I
nice.
think that was a good jump to get into that market.
Awesome.
Is
Looking
is
forward
who
to it.
you're with in Maryland? Are they also in Illinois? Or did you, or I mean, Missouri, or did you have
Yep.
to? Okay, cool. So you're able
Yeah,
to kind of bounce with the same license.
exactly.
That makes it so much
Uh,
more graceful.
Yeah, it works
Yeah,
out. So it's like the partnership is going to be the same partnership we have here in Maryland. We don't have to, deal with another different
yeah,
personality, if
man.
you will, which
Yeah.
has been very helpful. So yeah, no,
Oh,
looking forward to that. Looking forward to a couple other states on the East Coast as well, having discussions. Hopefully New Jersey, New York, in the near future. But definitely want to expand the brand, not just keep it local to Maryland, but want to, just expand the brand, give people, a different brand to look at, a different brand that they could possibly resonate with, to try out and support. And so I'm just hoping to keep this level of success going, and excited about what the future holds.
yeah, man. Oh, I'm excited for you. I can't wait to check you out in every state, brother.
I
That's a
appreciate it, man.
that's a goal, man. That's a legacy goal. So Eddie, how
Yep,
can people stay up to date with you? You have any socials you can plug? Are you guys doing any events for 420 or anything
we
like
are.
that? Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
we're gonna in terms of social media, Happy Yeti __ is the Instagram. My Instagram is I am Edio. You can catch it on Instagram, same Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. But we're having a 420 hangover event because this year 420 is on Easter, and
That's
unfortunately I
true.
got to be the
That's
Easter
true.
bunny this year.
Yeah.
So
Oh, my man.
yeah,
Nice.
I'm hopping out, man. I'm
That's
hopping out.
cool, man. That's it. You're clocking in, brother. That's
Yeah,
cool. You
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 got to
got a
do
whole
what
little
you
outfit
can.
and everything?
Nah, man, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
all
look for pictures. Don't look for pictures,
right,
though.
all right, all right. I won't put it on tag to this video or anything. Don't worry. That's
But yeah,
cool, man.
so we're doing that hangover event. Is going to be the week after 420. So just getting the cannabis community together here in Maryland and just having a good time, giving out some free swag, some gifts, some products, and just having a good time. And so enjoying that. Hopefully the weather breaks so we can actually do some more events outside. But I'm just looking forward to the second year here in Maryland, adult use being legalized. So I'm just excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, man. And where's this event at on the 420 Hangover? Where's that at?
So it's an invite only event, but it's
Oh,
gonna
okay,
be
okay,
yeah. So, but it's gonna be in like the Baltimore area.
okay. Word. Cool. Well, I hope
Yeah.
it's a
So,
great turnout for you, man.
oh yeah, man. I'm gonna shoot you the details if you want to drive down.
Yeah,
Sit
yeah.
down, by
That's
and make
not
it
too
happen.
bad. That's not too
Yeah.
bad. Maryland. I used to go to Ocean City, Maryland every summer. I grew up working there, man. So
Okay.
I know all about it.
You
I
know
know
the
all
area,
about
yeah.
it.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, cool.
Awesome.
Eddie, man, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
You
for sure,
got
man.
you got anything else you want to plug in real quick?
Uh, I think we covered a lot of bases. I mean, we got the social media. We have a lot of different things going on. Just follow us and to stay abreast of what the different activities oh, one more thing I didn't mention that.
Oh,
One more thing. So, with that attorney background, I do what's really big and what speaks to, what the cannabis community is really about is, a partnership we have is with Last Prisoner Project. So it's
oh,
a lot of
cool.
social
Yes.
advocacy that we like to get involved with.
Awesome.
And so we partner with Last Prisoner Project, and they do a lot of different things in terms of getting formerly incarcerated people for cannabis offenses out of jail. And so that's one organization that's been near and dear to my heart. And I think we try to support them in everything that we do, and other organizations that do that type of work. It's just social advocacy and really the criminal justice reform that's what is legal now and it's a multi-billion dollar industry, people are still locked up for. And so working with organizations like that are doing the work to get those people who were once convicted out, to actually be a part of this industry, or just to be a part of their families' lives, just to get them out of jail, because now it's legal. They shouldn't be locked up for something that's now legal. And so
Yeah.
Last Prisoner Project, go check them out, and all the great work that they're doing. And we have a couple of campaigns that we're also pushing with them. I know we were really big in working with them when our governor, Wes Moore here in Maryland, had a pardon of over 175,000 individuals in Maryland. And so they were really instrumental in working with the governor in Maryland to get those people out. And so anything that we could do to support them, we're there. So just definitely wanted to plug them and let people know that to check them out and the work that they're doing as well.
Yeah, and they're on socials. That's just the Last Prisoner Project, right?
Yes.
That's their tag. Yeah,
Yep.
I follow them. It's one of the best campaigns people should get behind for cannabis, man.
For sure.
Thank you for plugging that, and thank you for using your background to help progress that and support
Definitely.
that cause, because no one should be locked up over this plant.
I love that. You sound like a commercial, man. I love that.
Yeah, no one should do that.
No one
So
should do. Yeah.
all in time, all in
Yeah.
time. You
It's coming.
can't be negative. You can only be positive. So let's just say we haven't done it yet, but that doesn't mean we can't do it.
Exactly.
My man,
Exactly.
Eddie, thank you for your
Appreciate it.
time, brother.
Adam, appreciate you having me, man. Till next time.
Yeah, just hang on one second.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom. It's just